Hi, today I'm going to show you how I made sound for different motion design projects. We'll break down examples with different cases, but with similar tools and principles I used in them. No matter the complexity of projects. Let's go! The first project, as the title says, is a set of scenes that can be used to create presentations. Minimalistic, stylish and modern. A detailed description and features of the project can be found on Behance by the project author Artyom Kochnev. There are a total of 50 scenes so far, and in terms of sound design I have used different approaches, but let's start with a simple one. From the very beginning we decided that the sound of the balls should be real or natural, and all the scenes should be voiced as minimalistic as possible. That's the idea of the project, and the sounds should go well with whatever music the user of the project decides to use. The first step is the most difficult, to determine how the balls should sound. You can see they are made of two materials, metal and marble or some other stone, but it is not clear which surface they are rolling over. I found balls that were nearby and rolled them on wood, plastic, tile and linoleum. We discussed all the versions, and in the end we stopped at small plastic balls that I took from my kid, and as a surface on a cutting mat that I borrowed from my wife. It is important from the very beginning to choose the right sources, so you save time and nerves. So let's start with the simplest scenes, where you can just put sounds in the video. But there are additional elements as well, like this flying metal question mark. For such elements, as well as for cases of using scenes without music, so that they don't sound too empty, I made versions with additional sounds using whoosh effects. Yes, you can do more than just whooshes in it, just set a longer duration. There are different metals to select here. Sounds cool and atmospheric, which was a good fit in this case, especially with reverb. Whoosh effects come in handy here as well. But now all three layers of sounds change their amplitude. It makes it feel as if the balls are spinning while flooring. And in this scene, the balls rotate while standing still. Now in whoosh effects, for each ball separately, I automated the LFO modulation frequency. And moved the balls apart on the panorama. This is not the only way to show rotation. A bit later I will show you how I did it differently in other situations. In general, these same sounds and instruments came in handy in many scenes. But there are also scenes with hits. They had to be discovered too. And they are different in different situations. In general, so far, everything is simple. Here is mixture of hits. And in these situations, when there are so many hits and they are random, it is clear that it is very difficult to make every touch sound. I usually try to indicate only the most obvious impacts that attract the most attention. This is often enough to create the right impression. Well, in this scene, for the same reason, I just added a little whoosh effect to the flyout of the ball. It makes it easier to the viewer to understand what's going on. Whooshes are often useful and add to the atmosphere, even if the realism loses a little. And this is the only scene in the project for which I had to additionally try a lot of different impacts. As a result, children's plastic blocks came in handy. This sound seemed so suitable to me that I almost did not use any additional processing, only a smooth change of the pitch. But what to do if you like the original sound, but there are not enough items to make it? For example, we need a bunch of balls, not just a couple. We can use granular synthesis. For example, in this scene, I randomly placed a bunch of small hits. And even that amount is obviously too weak. Even if I add some delay, I look at the video and realize that I don't believe it. And this is Texture, an interesting plugin. And I mentioned in my blogs when it was available. Feel free to subscribe and follow. I try to share what gets my attention. Well, Texture is a granular reverb. It divides the sound into small pieces and multiplies them. We can hear the granules clearly, or we can smear them, getting a reverb-like effect. I automated this knob and the effect knob and got this. Now it became more like a bunch. The plugin also helped here. Here. And here. And the impact here is made in whoosh effects. As I said, it is not only useful for whooshes. I also often use Pet Shop for granular synthesis. First of all, again, to make it feel like there are a lot of balls. There are single short ball rolling sounds scattered around. We only need them for accents. I opened one of these in Pet Shop and made this atmospheric pad. Here you can select the number of sound granules to play and their duration. You can randomize their pitch, from which place and how they will play, looped or not. The result is a sound like this. Exactly the same way the bunching is shown in these scenes. And here I put a short whoosh in one pitch shop and a bottleneck blowing sound in another. I told you that rotation can be shown in different ways. Granular synthesis would help here too. Here the balls on the left and right we see for a very brief time, and the short samples are enough for them. The central one is constantly in front of us, and now it plays, starting from random places, within the limits that I chose and with a slightly changing pitch. This way it won't feel like just playing the same sound on repeat. In fact, it is though. Similar techniques are also here. and here. And the cool thing is that now, by automating different parameters, we can also control the speed of the ball. This example is also interesting because of the sound of the icons. It's based on the interface sounds that I created for some library. And this is synthesized sound of metal scratching. We could even manage with just that one sound. I got literally drawing it in the DSP action tool. It also came in handy in these scenes. And here we have the familiar sounds of the ball rolling and the sound generated by DSP Motion. Detailed reviews of the possibilities of these tools you can find here. I leave the links, check them out. These are unique and modern assistants for quick creation of sounds, especially suitable for certain projects. I'll show you those next. There were a lot of abstract scenes in these projects for which sound design is more matter for imagination. I'll show them later. And now let's take a look at the other projects. Now these are bright, colorful, dynamic videos. Their author is motion designer Sergey Vodianov. So far I made sound for 3 of them. Let's look at a couple. A detailed description of the project can be found in this Behance page. So here we go. For this scene I made the sound pretty quickly. It's really simple. There are only beat and the laser-like sound effect in the beginning. The beat in this case is taken from the standard New End library. It sounded quite different before, like this. I corrected a little bit its groove, trimmed it and added effects. In general, I see absolutely normal to sometimes use some standard sounds that comes with the program. For example, these sounds in Nuendo. After all, they are included for this purpose along with plugins and instruments, and in any case I'm changing and adapting them for the needs of my projects anyway. So firstly, cryostasis plugin is used on the beat. I revealed it in details already. In a brief way, we can freeze a sound in a special way or make atmosphere out of it. Or if you don't use it for 100%, you can give it a glitchy, crunchy character. I automated this knob and the wash knob, which smears the spectrum, getting a kind of reverb at the end. And then I used a free hysteresis plugin. It comes in handy for glitchy delays. For those who do not already know, Glitch Machines is giving away some similar plugins and glitch libraries. So what it did was add a couple of squeaky artifacts at the end. And that was enough to further transform our beat to match the glitch in the video. And the second sound, Battleship Big Laser, is taken from the game synth repository. Here you can see how it's synthesized from scratch. I just made it shorter. I liked it right away with its bit-crushing tail. It matches up very nicely with the pixel elements in the video. When looking for sounds or creating your own, make sure they support as many elements in the video as possible. Moving on. idea from the same author is already more complex and interesting in terms of sound design. In general, I try to start projects of this kind by setting the main accents, but this particular project started with this sound. With it I marked the blurring of the stars, the movement itself, and that's because it reminded me of something. This is of the track of one sound that I got, but experimenting with the photo sounder tool. I was just putting different pictures into this program and listening how they sounded. I will not describe in detail how it works, I have already did it in my social networks. In brief, I put a picture of the space here, brightened up the stars, and moved the cursor to record the resulting sound. That's the kind of unusual glitch I liked, and I saved it in my library. In the project I just cut the different parts of the sound according to what was happening. And then I have set the accents. These are the hits made in the game synth. Here's an interesting point. In my review of game synth, I told you that it has help center with various tutorials, manuals and educational tools. Some of them refer to a blog where the developers show how different synths are voiced and how the sounds for them are made. Here, for example, using the modular tab, they create presets or patches for the cartoon skit. Here we have jumps, runs and other sounds. What elements are responsible for? Very useful material for learning. In fact, some of them can be used not only in the context of this program. And there are tutorials on various topics on this blog. Sci-fi weapons and even Foley, which is like live sounds. Notice that these are all synthesized sounds, absolutely all of them. And patches of these sounds can be downloaded and opened in Game Synth. So getting back to my project. These beats were made based on cartoon patches, in which I've corrected some small things and then moved to the project. And here I've worked with reverb and panorama, and a little bit with frequencies, but that's up to taste. By the way, for this impact I used texture again, which now adds, let's say, crystal feeling. And that's the effect you can get from any crash at all. I just added phaser. And here, besides the reverb, there's tremolo. By the way, you can put tremolo after the reverb as well. Also, there's some really easy whooshes and the hit. There is a rewind sound, which is created in display action. As you can hear, initially it sounds different, but you can change it so that it sounds completely different the way you want it to sound. The same is true for this sound. And this is how I tried to make the main character come alive a little bit. By adding some emotions like R2D2, for example, or like Wally. As you can see, these sounds are muted. At first it was supposed to have a lot more emotion. It is often necessary to reject some ideas during the work process, but in any case, in my opinion, it is better to have fewer sounds, but to hit the target more precisely. I decided to add emotion later with another sound, and this one is more interesting. In the Modular tab I created this patch with metaparameters, which control the change of RPM. I call it RPM, but in fact it's changing the pulse frequency, and it sounds like engine's RPM is charging. And there is also a change in pitch. I saved that patch, then opened the Whoosh tab and open the patch from here. Also notice that pitch and RPM are linked, which means that they change depending on the position on the sketch pad and the pressure of the pen on the tablet. And I just added some whistling sound with deflectors. Well, for the last sounds I opened inside the Tornado preset in the same program. Tweaked its parameters and saved as my preset. Now it sounds a bit closer to the rocket. Then just performed the sound according to the video. And now for the music. This is a whole story. Looking at the video, I decided that something synthwave style should be good. And suddenly I saw that my friend and colleague is making a video where he's writing a track in this style in 10 minutes. Later he wrote music in other styles in 10 minutes or even faster, which is quite interesting, you can look. Well, I decided to watch how he does it. And he not only made the track, but also posted it in the public domain and allowed it to use it in any project.
Все, я заканчиваю. Вот что у меня получилось за 10 минут. Ссылку на трек также я оставлю в описании. Используйте его как хотите. Это мой подарок для вас. Спасибо за просмотр. Всем пока.
So I gave it a try and it fit almost perfectly. I just cut it up a little bit. As one master said, accidents are not accidental. And then there was this video. I won't stop here much because it's basically the same instruments. The only nuance is the melody that is played at the beginning. Well, for now I think that's enough. So, we have looked at projects of varying complexity. I hope something was useful. And I would like to show you even more complex project in a separate video if you are interested in this topic. Write a comment about it. Well, that's all for now. Juicy sound for all. Bye!